Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. This is a weekend update for the week ending Friday, May 8th. We're going to start off here with the side-by-side view of the industrials, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ composite. The Dow Industrials, they were up 110 points this week. It almost looks like we're just stalling out over the last 3 weeks here. I mean, where did we close 4 weeks ago? We closed at 49,447, and here we are closing at 49,609. So not even up 200 points at the close over the last 3 weeks, actually. So kind of interesting. We haven't taken out a high. We're not in sync with what's going on in the S&P and the NASDAQ. The S&P 500 up 169 points, 6 weeks in a row. Still have divergence on the RSI. Now, that could disappear this coming week, maybe. Again, this is on the close for the week only is what I'm showing you right now. When we take a look, we've got the same kind of picture over here on the NASDAQ composite. It was up 1,133 points, a lot bigger move that we've got going on, but man, has it gotten extended. So that's where we sit with just giving you a little snapshot picture here. Let's go back and take a look at the SPY. On Friday, the SPY was up 604. For the week, up 1697. And I'll come back to this little number here in this red arrow. But pretty solid trend. When we look at, there's a couple of things that really jump out. I know we've talked about volume. I've mentioned volume before. And yes, you can continue to go up on declining volume. But to me, it still looks like a weak foundation when you see that. And I just have this feeling like the chickens are going to come home to roost. We'll see. Okay. And when you look at how extreme are we getting, when you look at Tom DeMark's sequential sell complete indicator, Friday was day 13. And that's the end of his sequential sell complete. Many times that is an indication that it's at a point of exhaustion. Okay, no guarantees. There's no guarantees in anything, but right now we're on high alert because we got day 13 here in the S&P 500. Seemed like there was something else. So let me come back and talk about the put to call ratio. Let me come back over here and then I'll talk about the Elliott Wave picture. So the equity only put to call ratio on April 22nd was 0.49. Let me pull that up if I can. Here we go. 0.49. And you could see that was a low point for us. And that was, how many? 2, 4, 6, 8, 12 trading days ago. Okay, so we still haven't rolled over. We've still continued to move higher. But this is the lowest 10-day reading. These are the actual readings. This is a 10-day moving average, simple moving average, 10 days of the data. The lowest 10-day reading since July 20th of 23 prior to a 3-month decline. And it's only the second reading this low since the October 22 low. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is, let's just go back and take a quick look. Let me scan back if I can. There we go. Let's go back to the middle of 23. And here's what I'm talking about. Here's where we got that reading on July 20th, 2023. 7 days later, 7 trading days later, we got a closing high right here on July 31st. Intraday high was on the 27th. Closing high, though, was 7 days later. And then we went into a 3-month decline. So pretty interesting. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm looking for, a 2 to 3 month decline. We'll see if we get it, but it's taken a while to roll over right now. So let's talk about the Elliott Wave picture that I've got in here. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the bulls in that this is looking and acting very impulsively. So right now, I'm saying there's 2 possible scenarios in my mind. And that is that we are in the 3rd wave up from the low here in October of 22 And within that, we've now begun the third wave of that third wave. Okay. And so I'm looking for this wave 2 to pull back fairly sharply. The real question is, how long is it going to last? How big, etc. That's one scenario. The other scenario says this was wave 4, and that we're into that this whole scenario, this move since this low here on March 30th is all part of the fifth wave, fifth minor wave. So we'll see how this plays out. Things could change dramatically over the next couple of weeks. Right now, this looks very impulsive to me. This looks like a 5 wave. How would I count it? I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're getting the divergence at the end, and actually even minor divergence here over the last couple of days. So that's where I sit with the count on the SPY, the S&P 500. A couple of the things that I came across that are really kind of little flags waving is the way I would put it. Let me move this out over here. First one is this. Jason Gopfer of the, I can't remember his website actually. It has something, it's with Sentiment. I think it's Sentiment Trader, sentimenttrader.com. So this was Wednesday when he put this out. This was Wednesday. Today will be the second consecutive day the SPY closes at a record high with more than 4% of its stocks hitting 52-week lows. The only other time this happened in the last 100 years was 1929. By the way, I have read this book by Andrew Ross Sorkin, and I really liked it. It was excellent. Of course, the book he put out on Too Big to Fail was fabulous also. So, but this is really, really interesting. And then following on to that, we had this. Let me pull it over. So Thursday was a down day. Then we get Friday the 8th. And this will be the 4th time that the SPY hit a record high, while 5% of its members fall to 52-week lows. Look at the other times. July of 29, January of 73. So the market peaked in September of 29. The market peaked here in January of 73. The market in the S&P peaked in March of 99, March of 2000, and this was December of 99. And then we have today, Friday, May 8th. So interesting stuff. We'll see. You got to get the price starting to roll over and break down, which it hasn't done just yet. The other thing I came across, let me go back over here. Financial Times article. Wall Street rebound driven by smallest number of stocks on record. Now here's what they're talking about. If you come down here, they're looking at how many stocks were materially contributing to the S&P 500's performance, so-called effective constituents. It hit a record low of 42 last week, far below the level of 100 that's been typical in recent decades. Then they looked at, what stocks have contributed to the gain from April 1 to May 6th. The S&P 500 was up a little over 12%. Only 5 stocks contributed over half of the gain of that 12.5%. Alphabet, which, Google, Nvidia, Amazon, Broadcom, and Apple. Amazing. 5 stocks, over half the gain that occurred in the S&P 500. So talk about narrow leadership. You combine that with narrow leadership, to me, drop off in volume in the move that's occurring, and in these other factors, potential exhaustion in terms of the move up. We'll see what happens. And so I talked about the potential exhaustion. Well, if you look at a couple of these individual stocks, let's just look at the first 3 of the contributors they talked about. Google. Let me go to here. Let me go here, and let me just pull up Google. So Google, Friday was also day 13 of DeMark's sequential sell complete indicator. Okay. Nvidia, Friday was day 12. Now to get day 13, all you have to do is have a close above Thursday's high. And then you'll have day 13. Okay. Amazon, not quite that far along. Where is it? Right here. Day 9 occurred on Tuesday. So, still a big move up, but in terms of the sequential sell indicator being complete, it's not quite there. Now, what could cause the market to go into a 2.5, 3 month drop off? Well, what happens if the whole Iran thing could, explodes again, or the whole price in oil takes off? So I was looking at oil and WTI. I look at it and look pretty almost every day, and we chart it. So here's what it's been doing. Pretty chaotic, right? Up 61 cents on Friday, down $6.52 for the week. So you look at this and you think, well, what the heck is going on with this? Well, here's one possibility, and here's the way I'm looking at this. From an Elliott Wave perspective, I'm looking at this from the low that occurred back over here on December 15th. Wave 1, 2, 3, and that we have a possible triangle in here for wave 4. Now the interesting thing, and then you're going to get a fifth wave. If this is true, this needs to hold right here. This low, 88.72 low, needs to hold. If it breaks, then this scenario starts to go out the window. Just remember that, okay? So what am I watching for? I'm watching for it to take out this high, and it starts to run again. April 30th high, 110.82, right up in here. Okay, so let's just say 111. And, the thing about triangles from an Elliott Wave theory is that they only appear in two places, triangles and B waves. And whenever they appear, it always tells you you have one more push. You have one more leg going. Okay, so that's what I'm watching for. Do we break out here, take out this high, and start running? And again, a fifth wave can be either an impulse or an ending diagonal. We'll see what we get. That could really throw a wrench into everything that's going on in the market. Okay, that's it for this weekend. If you felt like the video was helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, hit that little subscriber button down there. And if you'd like more of this information on a regular basis, head on over to joehenches.net. Everyone, have a great week, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.